Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here along with Rogan Smith. I'm using the radio deep voice so that I don't get reprimanded and placed into silence. How are you, Rogan Smith?
She just peeled the banana
that's
upside down.
No, that's the right way.
Really?
Yeah, because you're supposed to hold it by the thing.
Hold it and pinch it.
And then you're supposed to hold it by that edge. And then you hold it by that edge, right?
Candy, I've never seen that done. Ever. Okay.
Did you and I discover that together?
No.
You're off mic.
No, I actually brought that.
You told that to me?
Yeah, I did. You remember?
Candy, that's pretty special.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try it.
That's how gorillas eat it.
Well, then I won't eat it like that.
No, but that's how that's because it makes sense. It's because then they hold it.
They peel the banana? I thought they just put the whole thing in their mouth.
Gorillas, I think gorillas peel bananas.
I never seen no gorilla.
Kendrick will find that on the internet. I think they do.
They put it right
Certainly
in their mouth.
Cheetah did from Tarzan.
Oh, okay.
Don't make me
What?
At least that looks like a good banana, though.
It is, yeah.
I don't like soft bananas and with the black spots on it. Look like liver spots.
The plague?
I don't like those.
No, it's soggy.
Imagine if it had a lot of black spots in it, but had that tryptophobia that I don't want to think about.
Why'd you bring it up?
I don't know. Your dress looks kind of trypto.
No,
yeah.
I understand why you make me sick now. It's the dresses.
Wait a minute, but there's only one day I'm wearing this dress.
How are y'all doing? How y'all doing?
I am enjoying the weather.
Yes, it
Feels
is.
like Christmas time.
I just came from the Ministry of Transport. I had to drop off a package. They got that tree up.
Do they? Oh, the artificial.
I don't care what it is. It say Merry Christmas.
Real trip. A tree this year.
Christmas.
Huh?
It's Christmas.
We're I think a little ahead of ourselves.
No.
It's not
this
Thanksgiving
is
yet.
Midweek.
It's not Thanksgiving yet. Usually it's supposed to be Thanksgiving.
I
then
wait
you
until
hit
the
that.
stats on the trees
November
so I can
1st.
get. You put up your tree, Candy?
No.
Do you get a real tree or an artificial
tree? She's saying she's in the spirit, but she'll put that up like December 23rd.
No. No. First week of December.
Okay.
First week of December? Artificial or real?
Real.
The smell of pine, man.
But you know you can get your pine Febreze.
No, it doesn't last. It's not the same thing.
Spraying.
Nope.
Okay.
And the trees start to smell. You got to be careful with the water.
And then there are, of course, people who have to dust their trees because they never take them down.
Oh, jeez.
You know that, right? You know people like that? I know some folks. I know.
I don't.
I do.
Yeah, and then they turn all brown and.
No, I'm talking about the artificial
trees.
I'm talking
artificial.
Yeah. They don't take them down.
But I would think if it's out in the open and not
then it's not
locked away, then you don't need to
anymore.
wipe it. You don't need to dust it.
You don't dust your house?
I dust my furniture. I polish my furniture. I don't dust my house.
Is your furniture? I'm just asking a question because I know Illinois is better than that, even though she has
first
issues.
of all, I don't live with her. That's number one.
Illinois, you and Illinois thing. You always keep your furniture out in the open.
What do you mean out in the open?
You said if you don't have the tree out in the open, you don't have to dust it. I ask you if you dust your damn house. Is your furniture out in the open?
My furniture is out in the open.
So it's the same open as the tree.
The trees don't collect as much dust as like the furniture is like a flat surface or whatever like that. They're just little spiky thingies, the plastic spiky thingies.
What about the balls on the tree, the things on the tree?
Maybe you don't have the balls. Maybe you just have the lights.
Okay. Whatever it is, I'm sure there's dust collecting.
Well, I wouldn't know because I don't have an artificial tree.
Okay. And if you did, it wouldn't be out in the open.
It wouldn't
Maybe
be
you'll
out in the open.
pack your tree.
It wouldn't be out in the open year round. It'll be stored away somewhere.
So you'll lift it up and put it in a kind of hermetically sealed device where there's no dust. Okay, thanks.
I don't know because
Maybe
I don't have artificial
What
trees.
else is going on? Anything else?
You see what happened in Poland over the weekend?
No, I don't know what happened in Poland.
With their version of Black Lives Matter, except it's White Lives Matter. No, they had a protest on their 99th anniversary of independence.
Mm-hmm.
All the Nazis, all the neo-Nazis came out, and they want to reclaim Europe and make Europe white again. What would you take it off your glasses for?
No, I gotta clean them.
It was 60,000 people came out.
Oh, I thought it was like 200,000.
They've been having protests over the years, right? And people thought, it's just a couple crazy guys, and it's been growing steadily, growing. And they're holding up the white power signs. They want to see an Islamic Holocaust.
Yeah.
The usual
the only
fare.
thing you have to feel good about is that while 60,000 seems like a lot to us, in a country of maybe 30 or 40 million, it's not. But you do have your walkouts.
I don't.
I thought it was more than that.
First of all, you have to understand Poland. You have to understand Poland was invaded by the Nazis.
Yeah.
So I can guarantee you that the majority of Polish people are not into them.
Let me tell you. I think the 60,000 who came out
Yeah. And not to
represent a
mention,
small minority.
not
I
to
think
mention
that's
they
the ones
could
who
have
are
come
bold
from
enough to come out.
not to mention, they could do like your boys up in Charlottesville. They come from everywhere.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, they don't
Some
just come from Poland. Yeah, that's your Germans.
Germany.
They invading again.
They had some English folks
yeah,
there
yeah,
as well.
they're not crackpots, man.
No, but
trust
it's
me.
serious though.
While I don't dispel the ubiquity of racism, I would assume that the people who show up to these things are the crackpots French. Okay?
That's all right.
Because
They grow in numbers.
because everyone has a little taint of racism in them.
Really?
Okay, everyone has a little taint of
You think
prejudice.
I don't think I have
Yeah,
any
everyone has
taint
a
of
little.
racism. No,
everyone
I
has a
don't.
little
A little
taint
taint?
No, I
of
don't.
prejudice.
Of prejudice?
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
don't.
yeah. Oh yeah. You've never said an off-color joke.
Yeah, an off-color joke doesn't make me
That's a taint.
racist.
I'm
It
just
doesn't
saying
make me.
a taint.
It doesn't
I
make
didn't
me
say
a
you were
racist.
Just and that's why I didn't even say racist.
Just like
I said
a white person
racism.
can say an off-color joke, and I don't say, "Oh, he's a racist."
I
Like,
didn't say racist. I said racism. It's a different thing.
Oh, okay.
Jeez.
Explain how
Well,
it's different.
explain. I was
Because
just
it's not racism.
explain, please.
He's an idiot.
It's not racism. It's a different thing. It's a taint.
No.
Okay. So anyway, so that's going on. Your boy, what do you name?
More?
Trump. We can talk. We'll get to more. Trump.
More,
Trump
more.
is
More
in.
and more.
So they showed something. I can't remember it on Trump's statement on something, and it just made no sense. He just goes
Why
on
are
with
you
these
surprised?
paragraphs, and then says, and and I was there, and it's he's a friend, and he just goes on.
Mm-hmm.
But what someone said was even more critical. So Donald Trump goes to, I don't know, Vietnam or Cambodia, wherever, and he says at a platform that he hates the intelligence community, the United States intelligence community, especially some names like Comey and some other people he named. And he says, because these people are whack jobs.
Ah.
Okay? Now, can we imagine a Barack Obama's, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You know Barack Obama's? Had gone to a foreign country and said something disparaging about the intelligence community and the heads of the intelligence agencies of the United States. What the conservative people would have been saying. It's crazy.
It'd have dragged him to Poland.
Oh, well, he would have just resigned. Just say, you know what?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Him all over the
I'm sorry. Listen,
USA.
I went a little bit too far on that one. I'm sorry. I'm gone.
I
I'm
pull
in
back.
Yeah, I pull back. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nuts that what this guy can get away with. So that's the other thing. And then, of course, our boy Ramor. Ramor. First of all, someone defending Ramor
Bermo?
said, the Auditor General said, well, Mary was 14 and Joseph was in his 30s and they parented Jesus. That's it. Okay, I would
He went the argument off of that loading.
Look at your boy Ken. Ken did it. I've never seen Ken did this. Ken did a stare. That's what he said, and he said it in that exact accent. Even though it was in writing. I saw the comment in writing. Okay, I know he said it in that accent. Well, what's the matter with that?
Oh my God.
Mary was 14, and our man Joseph was 30-something years old, and they parented Jesus.
And they parented.
Parented
I was like,
Jesus.
what the hell are you saying? They parented?
That's in there.
What's
You
that
ask.
word?
Yeah, it's the auditor guy of Alabama. Don't
Wow.
get no better than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, how do you even follow up on that?
Well, most of the Republican people who have since said, if you want to go down that road, just it's over.
Yeah. And
Because
he will not step down. He will not
Roy
back down
said,
from running.
and then Sean Hannity interviewed him.
Well, you see, he's lost a lot of sponsors. They've been pulling their
Hannity?
ads.
But
I guess he did the interview.
But Hannity at least exposed him because he said. So let's be clear.
They didn't want him to give him a
You
platform.
didn't want to. You never dated anyone 17 or 18 when you were 30 something. And Roy Moore said, I don't recall that. It wouldn't be something I would normally do customarily. So Hannity said, look, I have a 17-year-old daughter, an 18-year-old daughter, and I would not approve or think it's normal for her to be dating a 32-year-old man. So now you know what Ray Moore has done. You know someone coming up around who's going to be 17 who said he dated me. Then the other district attorney or whatever said, oh, yeah, he was known for liking younger girls.
A second woman has come forth now.
And then, well, it was 3 first.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was 3.
What happened?
And then Ramor, he's asking.
Roy Moore. For people who don't know who you're talking about, Roy Moore. Please stop doing that. Roy Moore.
Roy Moore said, why in the hell would anyone think that 40 years later, some woman would come forward and say this now? What's the timing on that? Well, I don't know why someone just didn't go, you ever heard of a guy named Bill? I mean, those were women, right? They were women when they were assaulted, right? And it took them 30, 40 years. So a little girl who was afraid.
Right.
So Ramor ain't got no excuse.
The house of cards falling down everywhere these days. Everybody is coming for, and I mean, I'm not
no
trying to.
No pun intended with Kevin Spacey, right?
No pun intended. I'm just saying, like, it's like a house of cards. Like one card tips over. It's like a domino effect. So everybody is stepping forward.
Yeah,
no, like from Hollywood with the Harvey Weinstein and then the what's your boy named Kevin Spacey
and Halpern, Mark Halpern.
That's right. Jeez, I even forget about him. And now, Roy Moore. It's just like every day it's somebody. Now, I think I saw someone.
And you're like
John
holding
Travolta.
your breath. Like,
and let me tell you what's scary.
Everybody is
You see all
implicated.
these people all these Republican brothers, especially who like, oh no, he got to leave right away. You know why half of them saying that?
Why?
They ain't want no one pointing them.
But it's going to come out. Because people get emboldened after they see.
They just hope that the people say, see, I don't support it.
Oh, okay.
You see, they just hope.
A lot of people.
Because at least a percentage of them.
Just goes to show.
Yeah.
I have my views, on like,
harassment.
Oh no, not really harassment, but like underage girls,
with 30-something-year-old guy.
Stuff. Yeah, I do.
Well, 14 though. In fact, in Alabama, it's against the law.
What's the age of consent in Alabama?
It's 16, so 14 cannot give consent. You're not even allowed to take someone into your house.
But who determines?
The
government?
Law did.
The government. Yes, but who? I mean. Why that age?
Well,
why that age? That's
the
question.
I don't know the rules.
How you just pulled at this age and you say this is the age when a girl can give consent. I remember being 14 and being very intelligent and knowing what I wanted. Now an adult might have said.
What are you saying?
I'm not saying anything.
You're saying
I'm not
something.
saying anything. I'm saying I know how I was at 14 and the mindset I had. That's what I'm talking about.
And what was that mindset?
I'm talking about being outspoken, feeling like I knew what I wanted for my life. I don't even feel like I've changed in a big way.
I can understand, I don't know, maybe as a parent of a daughter, I can understand a 14-year-old with a 15, 16, 17-year-old. I can understand that. But I don't feel as if a 30-something-year-old man is really, I think he has a lot of power or whatever over a 14-year-old.
What power?
Well, I mean, I think she's...
People always say that, but what power?
I don't know. It's weird for me. It's a weird thing.
I'm just saying, this isn't just directed to you, but people always say, oh, a 30-year-old man has so much, he has so much power, influence over. I've seen immature 30-year-old guys, and I've seen more mature 14 and 15-year-old girls. I'm not saying I'm endorsing it. What I'm saying is, who makes the decision that this is the age of consent?
Okay, well, in this
when you have
instance,
two people who... Go ahead.
In this instance, the girl actually said she didn't want it to be there.
That's fine.
Okay, so that's what I'm dealing with.
But you have 14 and 15-year-old girls and 16-year-old girls who want to be with a 20-something-year-old guy.
But these girls said he took him to the back of the woods by his house, took off his clothes, started feeling with him.
If there's objection, obviously.
And she just wanted to get there. And sometimes you don't object because you're afraid.
If there's objection or there's something that's they're giving off something that says that they don't want that, that's totally different.
All right.
That's totally different versus I'm talking about some girl who says, I'm 15 and I want to be with him.
I tell you one thing. Roy's going around before the thing preaching about sodomy and immoral things.
See, that's the problem.
There's a lot of immorality in the world. And you know what's missing? God.
There's a lot of immorality.
Immorality.
And God's business.
Meanwhile,
and they're always the ones implicated.
He putting 14-year-old girl hands on his underwear.
I just was watching Law & Order SVU marathon yesterday. I swear I saw something like this.
We'll be right back. Good evening, ladies. You want to talk about on the air what I was saying? Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah. You sent me the thing about the guest.
I'm not on WhatsApp anymore, so.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
What happened? Why? Why did you come off of WhatsApp?
Because I got tired of people sending me a bunch of stuff.
Well, you could block them.
Yeah, but then I'll be blocking everybody because people always send me stuff.
No, so you must be on something else.
No, I'm on anything.
Okay.
No, I'm totally.
Text
So you
message?
literally
Only
stopped
text.
in the middle of that conversation.
I haven't spoken to you. What
No,
you talking
on
about?
the thing when you were calling about Adam and Eve,
Yeah.
and then like right after you
No,
stopped.
that's not correct. I just did that yesterday.
But it was right after Adam and
No,
Eve.
baby, I just did that yesterday morning. I'm telling you.
Okay, we're
Yeah.
gonna prove points.
Look
now.
at Kendrick. Look at it. I just tired of social media, man. Sorry.
Yeah.
We gotta go pick up the phone and call me and text me. Use in a minute.
So both of these are yesterday. One was at 2:45, and yes, you're right. You cut it off. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, you're a nutcase,
So
but
you're
that's
not on
okay.
anything.
No, good. All right, she doesn't exist. Thank
I mean,
you.
that's actually pretty.
Just real quick before we get Candy, I was happy to see the modernization. You know, we just had Minister Dames on,
Yes.
and he didn't even bring this up, but I was happy to see because it's it's a one little step forward. That's what you got to do with the body cams, the body cameras, because it makes me feel like.
Some accountability.
Well, not only that we're moving to be equal with other more civilized places.
But check this out. So
But check it out.
This is a Tribune, right?
Uh-huh.
So they had this officer on the front, right? I didn't even take a look at the uniform to know this wasn't even one of our officers. So I was like, this boy cute now. Let me see who.
She said,
Wait, what part of
that's
the
another-
Army
yeah,
BFE
you're
on
gonna be
there? It's like,
arrested
okay, that ain't even
yourself,
our
yeah.
police officer.
Uh-huh.
Oh, is that there?
That's from the
it
U.S. That's an American cop.
Is that,
Yeah, because we didn't have him, I guess. Yeah.
I was like, he's okay. He works out. He
Yeah,
works
that's
out
not,
and
that's not
everything.
even our kind of caps.
It's not even. I didn't even pay attention to the uniform.
Yeah, it said a U.S. style. Yeah. So yeah.
No,
All right,
it's
but
a
anyway,
step
they
in the
have
right
it's the
direction.
No,
yeah,
you know what would be even better?
What's that?
I mean, I don't know.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go
No,
out on
I'm
a
not.
limb.
Go ahead.
Can we get? I know it's
What
probably
is it?
ornamental. I don't know what the word is, but can we get the ladies out of the skirts? Can we get the women out of the
Candy?
skirts, please? If we're gonna modernize,
Thank you
get
very
the women
much.
But don't women also
out of
wear
the
pants
skirts.
too?
Yeah,
I don't
but
see-
Hang up the skirts now.
Just
I
get
don't
rid of
even
those
want to
skirts.
see you in skirts.
You can't
anymore.
even run properly in a skirt.
What you can
Okay.
do?
You telling
what
me
are you
you
going to
confined to
do?
the desk when I see you in a skirt? What you gonna do?
Why are they wearing skirts?
Well, speaking of where it's
I would
about
do
skirts,
100%.
all right. Well, speaking about skirts, there's also, and this is real quick because we want to get you on. In Britain, they've gotten rid of the wigs in the courts.
Now, if they've done that,
Now, let's just see how long
How what?
How
hello.
long?
How long?
it will take for us to get
Long.
rid of the wigs.
He has a
My
different
lord.
accent
My
than I
lord.
do.
Because
My lord.
you know, as I said in my thing, you know why they wore wigs was because back then they shaved their heads to avoid getting lice.
So they needed to
So they
now
put on
these
wigs.
look like they're full of
Okay.
lice.
Now the question is, why would lawyers here feel the need to get rid of lice? So I'm hoping that we will follow suit.
He's
and
got
we
the
will-
Tsunobi.
Shoot.
Yes, it's
English
it's Lord, my Lord, and all
I don't
that.
know why we carry.
And I'm
carry on
hoping
these-
that we will, my Lord, get rid of the wigs and the suits. Anyway, Candy, how are you?
He's with an English accent, and I love it so much.
Would you
should do it
prefer me
just
to go to
to make them
Alabama,
laugh.
don't you?
No, let's stick with the
You do that
English.
Bama accent a little too
I love
well.
it.
Hmm?
Yep. No, I say he does that Bama accent too well.
Well, I went to school in Alabama.
As we would say, you went to school in
went to
Alabama and in England
university.
and in UK.
And in England.
And I'm going to say this to you, Candy. If we were in the UK, we wouldn't be calling you Candy, would we? We'd be calling you Sweets.
Oh, goodness.
Is that not right,
Idiot.
Candy?
Sweet.
That's what. Mommy, may I have a sweet? They're so silly over there, aren't they? They're
Oh my
sweet.
goodness!
May
I
have
have a
sweet?
joke. I remember when I first moved over there, and I guess making friends or whatever, and this guy had kind of
He bump you?
No, like pinch me on the side, like pinch me on the side, like
Like
to
a
get
pinch.
my attention,
yes.
and I
Hello.
like. I jumped, and I was like, "Oh no, you can't do that!" Like
Yeah.
I have a lot of spunk in me.
Mm-hmm.
And listen,
He thought, my
Really?
God, you're full of spunk.
I did not know what that meant to them. Man,
Oh, what does
they
that mean?
I will have to tell you all
well,
Okay,
offline.
yes,
hold on.
yes.
I'm gonna point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh!
And,
Okay.
and listen, they laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed at
Bloody
me. I
hell.
gave them the the joke of the year.
You're full of spunky.
Ooh.
Yes. She's a bit sassy, isn't she?
Like, what? What?
Spunky.
You know, I think I can go to Britain very easily and blend in very
You
well.
would blend in
too.
it damply.
Yes, he would.
Hello.
With his what is it called again?
He'd be the
Lord.
laughing stock.
And my ascot.
Ascot.
And of course, one of the things that you know how they would know is one of them?
Actually.
You know how they would know is one of them?
So-
When instead of say in the Bahamas, it's a complete stranger. When you say, well, where you going? I'm going home. Or you'll say home. I'm going home. Now when you're in
flat?
Britain, you'd say,
Home.
I'm going home. Oh, you're from Britain, aren't you?
No, it's I'm going
him.
to the flat.
Yes, him.
Him.
Isn't it very nice to be home?
First of all, you don't sound anything like him.
Candy, what are you talking about today?
Well, I'm gonna drag us back a couple. No, so over the weekend, you know, this is like a little bringing it back local, a little hot topic. That was graced the scenes this weekend. Was this? I don't know if you heard about it, Rogan.
What's that?
I'm sure Ed has not. But there's this Facebook page that's
Oh, yes. The
What is
women
that?
that has
exposing
popped up, right?
men to say, is this your man or something like that?
Right, sis, is this your man or this is your woman?
I'm staring there.
Let's bring Ed up to speed.
staring
So
there.
there's this Facebook page apparently that started originally. This is information that I've received. Originally, that women would post pictures or something, or just see if this is
If you're in a relationship with someone.
and if this guy is seeing someone else or just trying to get some confirmation of
Like
if your
cheaters.
man is cheating or whatever. But now this is just catapulted into just nasty, like,
Really?
yeah,
Seeing
now
an eye
it's
in
like,
that
now
world.
it's been, people just posting pictures of these guys or girls and saying, well, guess what, this is who I dealing with. I don't care who he for or who he with.
My people,
And it's just
my
like-
people, my people.
How do you mean dealing? What
Yeah,
are you talking
when
about?
I say dealing with, I mean like we're having relations,
Okay.
and I just need you to know, and it's just
It's a
so
way of
now it's
exposing-
But they've
become
always been doing that. They call your house.
well
it's on
now
another
it's
level
And
now.
show,
So calling
or,
your
or
house
show it to your
one-on-one.
job.
right.
Well,
What,
no,
but
they-
see, that's the thing. Yes, it's still contained, right? But now you have a Facebook
It's
page
explosive.
where you've got I think it's about 5,000 members in this group. And it's like, what are we doing? Like people out here fighting real causes and doing real kind of things, and you over here.
And they're just doing it to expose the guy or to expose the girl, because you're not seriously trying to find out if he's involved with somebody else's. And if you have
No, they're
questions,
doing it because they know you're involved with
if you
someone
have
else.
questions about the fact that he's involved, why are you with him then?
And not only that, right? And this was another point that I was making. If you doing what you're doing with this guy, and you don't really care what's going on with who he's with, and you're this free whatever, be free. But
Yeah.
why do you have to
Expose him?
Why do you have to then now talk about it?
I told you that.
I agree.
I told Rogan Smith, I think I may have told you as well,
What's that?
that the social media phenomena is going to take a very, very, very. It's gonna crash, because you see how Rogan, for instance, has decided I'm off.
Yeah.
Completely.
It's a lot of people are just going to say, you know what, enough is enough. It happens every now and again. It happens. I can already tell from just because I'm still on Facebook, but I can already tell the kind of people are kind of backing away from it to some extent. They're not as fervent and as it's because you know what,
But that's
no
the
one is
sensible people backing away.
No, well, that's fine because that's who I deal with.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making is, you want it was designed for information and for contacting people.
Right.
It wasn't designed to destroy people.
Yeah.
Okay, but like everything else, it's like the atomic bomb.
bastardize everything.
They when they discovered atomic energy, it wasn't to build a bomb
To drop on
to
people.
kill people. It
Right.
was for energy.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is our thing, and so now what we do, we've now decided we have to crush nuclear power. We have to crush because it's out of hand,
Right.
and that's what will happen with this. This is nuclear.
I hope people are prepared for the consequences. Now, I certainly wouldn't want anybody to be hurt.
Oh,
But when you
I'm
expose
sure
people
lots
like
of
that,
people
and you-
every day are getting hurt.
And you're
Oh,
dealing
yeah.
with people's different people's emotions and temperaments, you have to be prepared for what comes with that. Because you could be putting somebody's face out there and they may not be involved with somebody else, but you've already exposed them in such a way where their reputation is ruined, they're damaged. You're not thinking beyond.
It's very dangerous.
Especially the way that we're set up
term.
socially, because, even in Europe, they are a little bit more, they don't get into the whole expose thing. That's a big American, like if if someone is caught having an affair in politicians, it's not that big of a deal compared to the United States.
On the West,
But the Facebook thing is just out of hand. My first concern about it was, and this is going away from your point, and we got the news coming up, is really the damage it does, I think, to social interaction.
Yeah.
To people being able to communicate with each other. This, like we talk when you go to a restaurant, everyone's on the phone, they're not communicating anymore. Yeah. You might as well just do takeout.
Yeah.
Everyone stay home and do takeout.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Okay, just want to say in a couple of seconds we're going to have our guest, the Honorable Franklin Campbell is going to be on, Minister of Transport. That's going to be fun. But before we go, we have Candy is winding up and
winding down,
I should say. And so we were just talking about So we're talking about is it raining hard?
Yes.
Oh, so we're talking about all the well, you're welcome to stay. The Facebook
smut.
But you see, but like I said, I was opposed to it. Remember, if Kendrick and I remember we were discussing it because I see so many kids who this is their life. There's a certain age group where I get really afraid because they have they're this likes thing, and if they're not in a group of it's just like a transition of when we were a kid. If we weren't in a clique, you felt left out. But I think this is magnified somehow. I don't know why. Because then they're on their own. They're like in a room by themselves. It's not even like they're in a outside. They're just kind of. It seems sad to me. So, but. Yeah. It is the way it is. It is the way it is.
I really would caution people against doing what this group is doing.
Someone just texted me saying they have 15,000 members.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, I thought it was 5.
Yeah.
15,000 members.
Irresponsible people.
That is dangerous.
And dangerous. Okay. Very much so. It's like people don't understand the repercussions and the consequences of these things. I mean, what are you thinking?
It only takes one person.
Well, and the sad part about it though is, it gets to a point, and then everyone just dispels it because it has no validity. It starts to, when you start to do things where enough people can say, well, that isn't even true.
Right.
Like fake news.
Well, let's assume that the people there are going to say it's not true.
Like for instance, and I mean, I understand he's in hospital. There's a thing going around that Ronnie had died.
Right.
Now,
I saw that this morning.
But apparently that's not the case at all. In fact, I heard from a very close friend that let me just see.
Because in social media we love to kill people off.
Yeah. As soon as you go to the hospital,
and then you like to be the first to deliver that news.
Oh yeah, what is that?
Oh, I don't know. I was just going to say
he is very ill, but it is, and as these people said, it is very insensitive that rumors are being spread about his death, as was the case with Arlington Butler. And again, our condolences go out to his family. But just ease up. It's not a big deal. Why are you and make it before you go. Do your message about the groups.
Oh,
yeah.
No, well, we were talking about WhatsApp. Listen,
WhatsApp.
On WhatsApp.
I don't want any messages.
No.
About the lovely day.
I can't stand
and the
that.
forwards and the
and
the
send
daily
and
bread.
Forward it, or something will happen to your mom or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, don't send me that stuff.
No, I'm not interested in the inspiration for the day.
Yeah, unfortunately, WhatsApp is one of those platforms that if you have a person's number, you automatically have access to them.
You can block them.
And not only that, man, people. Etiquette. Let's talk about WhatsApp etiquette. Do not add somebody to a group without their consent.
Exactly.
I am going to do this.
Don't add me to no group.
If you add me to a group without my consent, if you send me any inspirations, okay,
I should block all WhatsApp just to send you an inspiration.
Okay, I'm going to. You're now blocked.
Yes, it's
that's my etiquette.
It's too much. You're gonna have to keep doing it.
Why you would back
off.
It's too much.
I'm not into it.
But so before I go, I was just reading this. This Bill Gates is trying to build apparently a smart city.
Good. I go there, please?
Right. I know it's in Arizona
I'll join
apparently.
there tomorrow then.
And some
Maybe I'll help him with the construction.
No, it's pretty cool. You should check it out.
Okay.
It just makes you
Wanna move.
after debating about this smart stuff, it makes you want to move to a smarter city.
Yeah, except the
building.
irony is that he
gonna
was
do
one of
the
the big people who caused the thing in the first
technology.
place.
Well,
Okay.
he didn't create Facebook, but
No.
anyway,
Yeah,
he's doing more good than.
All right,
Yeah.
than harm, yeah.
Yes.
All right, Candy, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Pleasure.
Candy.
All right.
Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here along with Rogan Smith, and who's no longer on WhatsApp. And I don't know how you're going to survive, but anyway.
I'm
Kendrick
not
Williams.
into technology like that, so I'm going to be.
I'm going to give you another kind of WhatsApp. We can find another WhatsApp for you. You know,
Just text me.
like, what's up?
Why don't you just call?
Yeah,
Go back
yeah,
to old school.
Yeah, go old school.
Yeah.
All right, well, listen, our guest this afternoon is the Honorable Franklin Campbell. Frankie.
No, Frankie.
You got me on that one,
You
man.
always did the Franklin.
And I know that. I know it. I make that error, but I know a million people make that error. Because you know why? See, people say all the time when you have let's say your name was Franklin. Well, my name isn't Frankie. Don't call me Frankie. You know, and my mother didn't name me Frankie, but your mother did name you Frankie.
Frankie.
There you go.
Yes.
So like, don't call me Eddie. You know, that's what people say. But anyway, so the Honorable Frankie Campbell, who's the Minister of Transport and Local Government.
That's correct.
And 5 things for your portfolio, but I'm trying to remember them. It's local government, it's the post office, it's the port,
Yes.
it's the public transportation, and is it maritime?
The Met Office.
The Met Office. The Met Office. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff, man. Yeah. And let me you might as well talk about the Met Office really quick. We had a young man in here. What was his name? I forget.
Oh, God.
He was a
And he was
deputy
so
director.
good.
He was very, very good. Oh, Lord, I feel it's embarrassing.
No,
to
he-
invite-
Brad.
No.
No.
Green Simmons.
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 Mr. Simmons. Yes, Mr. Simmons. Yeah, okay. Mr. Simmons.
Yes.
And let me tell you something. You know, we always say this, and she always gives me a hard time for this. I'd say, what are we going to talk about? You know,
For an hour.
about weather. You know, like the cloud. You know, but that was probably the most interesting show I've ever had in my life, man. It was just so informative, and it also gave people just a quick understanding of what we're doing to the earth.
We actually underestimate a lot of what it is they do. We only get the final report. We also underestimate how many of them is necessary to do what it is they do.
Right.
And so we have a serious deficit of forecasters and meteorologists in the Bahamas. And I always take this opportunity to invite young persons who are considering a field of study, a career, that if they can withstand the rigors, because I understand it's the sciences,
it's
the
a
maths,
science, man.
the physics, etc. If they could withstand the rigors,
'Cause he
then
threw
the
some
Met
stuff
Office
on
has
us,
a
I
place
don't know
for
where-
you.
Yeah.
You had to tell him break
Because
that
that's
down.
the other thing. I was overly impressed, and I shouldn't have been, but overly impressed with the level of professionalism, the level of intellect, and I saw someone on Fox News last night, a young lady who's a meteorologist, and I said to my wife, I said, well, you know what? I think I'm going to go back to school.
To do what, Ed?
Just to study meteorology. Just want to study.
Why? Because she looked good, eh?
Because they're all just these bombshells.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, so it has nothing to do with meteorology.
No, he didn't want to get close to
It has to do with studying meteorology and being
Understood.
in
So
being
you
in
can get
study
closer to the
groups.
Understood.
You know, you gotta be in a
understood.
study
Group
group.
projects.
Yeah.
They didn't even go to school for that.
They didn't even go to
They're
school.
reading the
Yeah.
CP.
Anyway, so no, I think that, and I understand you're making some, since we're on that subject, where are we in terms of, especially being in a hurricane belt?
This isn't those kind of shows where you say hello Bahamas and all of that.
You feel free, man. I introduce you. You want to say hello, Bahamas? You can say. You want to say hello, Bahamas?
I'm just checking.
Say hello,
Very
Bahamas.
casual here. Very casual. But go ahead.
Good evening, Bahamas.
You're more than welcome to say good evening.
Good evening, Southern Shores. Let's make
Oh, you
sure
gotta
we
do
get
that.
that in.
You don't want to say Mr. Speaker.
No, that's all right. But, on behalf of the good people of Southern Shores,
on behalf
let's
of the
get that
good
in.
people. Yes. So Frankie is also a comedian. Okay.
That's funny. He said, this is one of them shows where you-
Yeah, this is one of those shows where you say this.
Just checking.
That's funny. Oh, that was
Yes,
good.
okay, we've gotten that out of the way. Okay. Now, the reality is we live in a hurricane belt,
Yes.
We've also had some issues with some tornadoes.
Yes.
And one of the problems was, or has been discussed, is early forecasting and early warning.
Warnings, yes.
Where are we, Minister, with regard to our early warning capability for tornadoes, for hurricanes, etc.?
Well, let me first of all say that I'm impressed with the work that the Met Office has been doing this particular hurricane season, though we still have a few days left. They've done an excellent job. We got the information. We were able to react in time. We were able to evacuate people as we deemed necessary. However, I'm also advised that there are some new innovations on the horizon. They are installing some Doppler radars that are supposed to overlap in terms of the scope that they cover to ensure that they are able to cover every square inch. There'll be no gaps. And then I'm informed that there will be an app that you can go to your phone, and so you don't have to wait for the news report, and you can update yourself. And they will also use that app to send out alerts and warnings if they need people to be forewarned of particular items. So I'm encouraged.
Because right now, I want to be warming to come off of Cape Verde. That's where I am. It's like a panic for about 3 weeks. Anyway, no, but that's good.
Then you'll probably be one of those persons who vexed because it didn't come. We don't need that.
No.
I'm actually one of those people who think I just bought up at June 1. I just wait. If they could come up, we could invest in some transparent shutters. I'll be good. All right, so not much to talk about that, unless of course you know anything. Because I think that's what people want. They want good forecasts. They want reliable forecasts, and obviously we have to have the equipment and the manpower to do it. Yes. And is that where you're headed?
The equipment is forthcoming. I am somewhat concerned about the manpower.
Yes, that's what
proper
said.
Succession planning has to be part of our moving forward. We have to ensure that as people prepare to move out, there are people moving in, so there will be consistency with the expertise that will result in the kind of service that we're looking for.
How many meteorologists are there?
Not enough. I'll give you an example of how far we are from having enough. We have an office in Grand Bahama that calls for a minimum, based on international standards, of 6 persons to run that office.
Minimum.
There are only 3 of them. So if anyone eats a piece of barracuda, we're in trouble.
You're screwed.
See, and the thing I want to ask you, Minister, is there has to be carve-outs in the public sector that recognizes certain levels of expertise.
Yes.
I would assume that if people knew that they could make a decent living from this, it ain't like you need 100. I'm sure you wouldn't mind, but it's not like a small place like this needs 100.
No.
But we need 30. That this is a thing which requires such level of educational application and commitment that people should be paid in a way so that you can attract them. Is the pay scale the problem?
I haven't heard
people
much.
Just don't know.
I haven't heard much about the pay scale. I think we just haven't done enough in years gone by to corral people in, to bring them in, to let them know that there is an opportunity awaiting. Ultimately, we send our children to school with the hope that they will end up in a career where their talents could be used.
Right.
And so why shouldn't we consider how to direct them in terms of what is available and what is needed? And I think that's where we're falling down as a society.
So, just real quick, last point. I went to University of Georgia, and one of the biggest things at the University of Georgia was the School of Geography.
Yes.
And I thought that geography was like, maps. Would we learn school? Where's India? But geography is the most interdisciplinary subject in the whole of any university. They go from meteorology to cartography to people get the CIA get people out of there all the time. They have languages. It is hardcore geology. It's just a wide ranging discipline.
All the ologies attached.
All ologies. All the ologies.
Yes.
All right. So that's number one. Now let's go to. Let's see what is going to be the least. Let's go to the post office.
The post office is a hot button topic at this time.
Yeah.
Let me, on the outset, say that I'm grateful for all the persons who work in the postal service system in the Bahamas.
Yeah, you're doing that thing.
And especially those at the General Post Office.
Okay.
I'm aware of their pain and suffering. Since 2013, they've been working half a day because conditions were not what they ought to be.
Terrible, yeah.
And I got a call this morning that they were out with their placards, and they got to do what they got to do.
Yeah.
I'm not vexed with them. I want for them what I would want for myself, what I would want for my family. I just want them to know that.
How has that been so neglected?
They're doing what they got to do, but I mean, they don't want to be working half days and going into a trapsy environment.
Definitely not. What I try to avoid when coming to office is a knee-jerk reaction. I could go back and tell stories about monies that would have been spent without the results coming in, but I'm not going to go there. I want to take them to a building that is mold-free, a building that is, if not purpose-built, but at least designed in such a way that it will incorporate and be able to sustain the services that they are intending to offer and make them comfortable. And so, yes, that is what we are looking at. I don't want to make any premature announcements, but I want it be known that we are actively in pursuit of that objective, that goal.
You know, it's an interesting kind of dichotomy because, you know, technology is kind of moving away from that mode. Now, there'll always be need to send letters.
Yeah.
You're never going to get rid of it.
I got a quote today saying any country without a postal service is no country. And so that suggests to me that there will always be a need for the post office for postal services. Now, how that is reduced or expanded, because it could expand. A lot of people are shopping online now. And so why can't the post office accommodate those persons? So there's room for expansion in a different area other than just your average mail.
So I think everyone is aware that I was telling someone a joke today that, you know, I said to a bank who was trying to punish me because I hadn't given my passport, you know, my new passport, which I said to them, so I'm no longer me because my passport is expired. I'm not a me now. So I said, what is your punishment going to be? They would say, well, we'll have to shut down that account. I said, well, that's fine because I'll use another dysfunctional agency, the post office, and send my checks to you through that. And when I say dysfunctional, I mean obviously mail is not getting to people on time.
No,
well, you notice I didn't laugh.
You didn't laugh. No. It is not getting to people on time, and people are experiencing this. It's a hardship.
I accept that the service is not being given, but it's not because the people are dysfunctional.
No. It's not
and that is what I want to make sure.
Yeah, no, it's a system.
Understand.
It's a system. Well, just like the people in the banks aren't dysfunctional, it's a system.
Yeah.
But, you want to laugh at that one?
But it's because where it all originates is not conducive to anything. It's not conducive to functionality.
Has that building been condemned?
Well, I've agreed with some other people that, and I'm going to use the word I want to use, blown up, not imploded.
Okay.
So
you want to just scatter?
Just blow it.
That's a disgrace.
And it's a shame because I remember when that building was built.
It's a historic.
Yes.
It's a landmark.
Yeah. But poor maintenance or no maintenance at all is what caused us to end up where we are.
We just can't seem to do that.
Look at all of our buildings: Clarence Bain, Rodney, all of them.
I was driving downtown. I was looking at some things, and I said to myself, we were going to take a break. When I come back, I'll talk about it. We'll be right back. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here along with Rogaine Smith, and our guest this afternoon is the Honorable Frankie.
You in love with this name, Franklin?
Frankie Campbell. And you got a lot of divisions under your ministry, so we're trying to...
I don't want to use the word divisions. Sounds like we're
departments?
Divided. Departments, please.
Okay, I'll go with departments, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we've covered the post office, and we've covered the...
Met office.
Met office. Now, I forgot
what
the point I
was
was
making.
Say,
yeah.
Say I lose my mind. It'll come back. But But the bottom line is, we were talking about, I completely forgot. What were we talking about?
The post office, and he was talking about
the building.
The fact that a lot of our buildings aren't maintained.
Maintenance, as we say in the Bahamas lovingly. The fact that we have a city the capital,
Yes.
where there is, if you were to take a school child out of New Providence or from the Family Islands who wanted to visit their capital, other than maybe, and it's like 2 on the scale, Government House, okay, and maybe another 2 on the scale, Parliament. I don't know where you would take a child to a government installation or a national place and say, this is part of us.
Well, if I had to do it, I would take a chance, a big chance, and try to bring them in at night so they could see the lights from again.
It's funny.
He's a comedian. See, now my thing is, I've always said, like, I take my friends to the fort, and you smell that urine. I tell them, no. That's pirate pee.
Pirate pee.
We can't touch that. That's historical.
That's
historical. We can't clean it. We clean it, it's a problem. Okay?
It's a protected area.
Yeah, it's protected pee. Listen, moving on to the Port Authority, which is another one of your departments. So we covered the Met Office, you covered the Post Office, which is an infrastructural thing that we need to resolve for us. That the Port Authority. So most people don't know. Can you tell us, because I don't think most people care about the Port Authority. I mean, it's not in their daily life.
The Port Authority is that body that regulates all maritime activities throughout the Bahamas. Okay. They regulate jet ski operators, parasail operators, mail boat operators, cruise ships that come in and out. Docks. They collect fees for docks, etc. They collect fees for licenses, crew, captains, and all of that stuff.
Okay. So generally, I think that most people, if you went down that list, would say, okay, the cruise ship seems to be okay. I mean, obviously, there's some infrastructural issues there.
Yes.
That docks and, all of that stuff. Obviously, they control the harbor in terms of cleaning the harbor.
Family Island docks are in a terrible state of disrepair, but the port, they regulate the dock, but they're not necessarily involved with the constructing.
That's Ministry of Works, probably.
Yes.
So the one thing I think that people are aware of is jet skis.
Yes.
It has not had, and I obviously know my role at Atlantis, so I want to be very fair.
Yes.
But obviously, even globally, this is not, what's the word I want to use, enjoyed a positive reputation. There seems to be some degree of, at least has been seen to be, of renegadism. In terms of, is that a word, Rogan Smith?
I don't know if it's a word, but it's
appropriate.
Good?
Okay. Okay. With regard to that, and it's going to lead into another thing because it really kind of falls into the public transport type of scenario.
Yes.
Where, and here's the theme, if you don't mind me skipping into this. There seems to be a lot of people who have licenses.
Yes.
To operate these things, but they are not the operators.
Well, like
they get, it's leasing
like the other industry,
right?
I spoke with a guy who says to me he's been driving for X amount of years, but he's leasing a particular item from an athlete who's been living out of the country for the last 25 years. So it's akin. It seems to be.
Yeah, it's I call it indentured servitude.
Slavery.
Modern day slavery. And as a result, it's hard to regulate because what happens is, like for instance, let's just cover this thing. Let's put the jet ski in the same bracket for this second with jitneys and taxis, right?
Yes.
From the perspective of how it's managed.
Yes.
Because franchises are given to Ed Fields, who sits in his office, I don't trust Frankie Campbell to bring home my dollars. I don't know what he collecting. So I tell you, you know what? I need $200 a day.
Up front.
I don't care if you make 201.
You don't care if you make anything.
I need 200.
And
so you go off the chain.
There is a hustle.
A hustle.
The hustle is I know that I can't make the first $10 for my children's lunch until I get that 200.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna hustle.
I stop every single
place. Push some people out the way. Do what I gotta do. It's human nature. It's a survival instinct.
Right.
So my objective is to find a sustainable way to take the hustle out of the industry.
And that's amalgamation, isn't it?
Well, that's one option, and that's the obvious option. But I'm exploring all options.
Because you have to have paid, salaried people.
Yes.
Okay? And if you have paid, salaried people, and again, you probably wouldn't laugh at this. People say, you know how we go. If you pay the people, they mightn't stop at all. You know, like they stop everywhere now for the hustle. You don't have to worry about if they stop at all once they have the salary because they're getting paid. But that's another joke. You're not allowed to laugh at that. Yeah, you're not laughing.
People out there, I'm not laughing.
You're not laughing. He's not laughing. I can vouch for that.
Good.
But that's just a joke. Okay. All right. So you know, you can't crack jokes on me, and I can't crack jokes on you. You know, you got
well, it's not a joke if I don't laugh. If only you laughing, it's not a joke. All right. So I'm not laughing.
He's funny.
He's laughing. But listen, but you know what I'm saying is that in order for people to be orderly,
yes,
there has to be a scenario where people aren't hustling.
Well, there are two parts. There are two parts to this. We have to take out the hustle. Well, maybe even three parts. We have to take out the hustle. We have to bring in some sense of uniformity. And then there's this little thing that I like to say. People don't do what is expected. They do what is inspected. So we have to put in place a proper inspectorate regime.
We always say that.
So the hustle is gone. There's uniformity in the way we look and behave. And then there's constant and continuous inspection.
What you don't inspect, don't expect.
Exactly.
That's the saying. But and the thing is, though, Minister, this is not rocket science.
No,
and we all of us travel. All of us been elsewhere. We see how systems work.
Yes, sir.
What has, and maybe I'm being rhetorical, but what has 30 years, 35 years of this, why have we not just done what we need to do?
It's simple. The truth is, the lack of the political will for fear that we may not get reelected. That's the truth. That's a simple truth. It always boils down to that. The politics start with the actual issuing of the plates. Ed Fields,
He's my boy.
You're the Baptist.
Yeah.
You preacher.
Yeah.
Take 10 of these and give these to our people.
Yeah.
But Ed Fields don't give them to our people. Ed Fields keep 10.
For himself.
Because next week Ed Fields is leasing out 10 of them. And so it started out wrong. And so if you start out wrong, you're going to end up wrong.
It's like that. It's like doing that tile. You start off with a little piece, and before you know it, it's like this wide at the end.
We need to set the criteria and don't deviate. Don't deviate. We have to accept that right is right, even if it's done by our worst enemy, and wrong is wrong, even if it's done by our best friend, and be willing to stand by that.
So, Frankie Campbell, you are a newly elected MP. You're a Minister of Transport. I'm telling you from a person who's been around this particular field for the last 20 years. I mean, I put it to you, and you said the exact right thing. And that is, one day you decide, okay, I'm going to sit at this table with the controller of road traffic, and we're going to put out a notice that says, everyone who is a holder of a taxi plate or jitney plate, please show up. Miss Rogan Smith, I noticed that you are employed at Sunshine Insurance, and you have 2 jitney plates. What business do you wish to be in? Jitneys or insurance?
Well,
Why does it have to be a choice?
Well,
because why are you leasing out plates?
Why can't
Leasing
I be
is illegal.
Why can't I be working part time to Sunshine Insurance and running my taxi?
Well, but
are you running your taxi, or are you enslaving someone?
No, I run in my taxi.
Yeah.
You mean the same taxi that you don't pay any fee for annually, but you're charging someone $600-700 a month for?
I run in my taxi.
Oh, you're driving your taxi?
I'm driving my taxi.
Okay.
I said I work part-time to Sunshine Insurance, and I run my taxi.
I apologize to
That's
you,
what I'm
Ms.
saying.
Rogan. You're running your taxi.
You're
running your
I
taxi.
work part-time there.
I got you mixed up with somebody else.
You run your taxi, and we can check on that.
Exactly. So now it's up to you to go and prove that what I said is
true. The problem
she does
is
have 2.
Huh?
She does have 2.
So she's drive 2 at the same time. That's how good she is.
We got to check
on
that.
We got to check on you. You have multiple personalities.
We got to check on that.
Yeah, she have 2. You see? Thank you, Mr. Minister, because I didn't pick up on that. She have 2. Okay? She even said I have 2 plates.
One through the weekend and one on the
Yeah. But that's the problem, isn't it?
See, you go back to the intent. What was the intent of giving? What is the intent of giving out these plates? Is it to create a new entrepreneur, or is it to pander to somebody who voted for you? What's the intent?
How many
Plates?
plates have been issued in the past? I don't know if you would know this. In the past 5 years.
I've been the minister for 6 months now, and I'm still waiting to get the exact figure. I'm promised that I will have that by the end of this week.
I'd be very curious.
There's roughly
to know.
1,200 franchises out there.
Well, I want to know more than just the number.
Right.
I want to know
Who?
what's happening with them.
And who?
Yes.
Yeah. See, because what should happen, Rogan Smith, who is driving a Truth Plates, is that when Ed Fields is sitting up in his office all day, and Mr. Kendrick Williams is driving the taxi. Now watch this now. I don't even buy the car.
No.
Okay? He has to provide his car.
Transportation.
Because by the way, because when I come to you with your 2 plates, I want to see your cars. Because you ain't got no car. So he has the car. He has to buy the insurance. He has to buy the gas. But you get the $600.
Hold on.
Yes, sir.
He buys the car, but he puts it in her name because it has to be insured in the franchise.
Exactly. I was just about to ask you that.
And then he has to pay her national insurance.
How dangerous is
in addition to the $500 or $600 that he gives her every month.
So he's a full slave.
Full slave.
You know, like I saw on
1835 did nothing for him.
You ever see Family Guy, the cartoon on TV?
Yes.
There's one of the most favorite scenes I've seen it where they like to mimic certain eras, right? Like medieval era. So they will mimic the slave era. So what the boy now, the dog?
Oh, Brian.
Brian, right? So Brian says, "Yeah, excuse me. I'd like to know if you can tell me where HR is. I have a couple of concerns." Okay.
Around that time.
You know, this is the problem, though. They have no recourse.
That is dangerous.
And what makes matters worse, if I'm attempting to investigate one of those matters, Smith?
Williams.
But the Williams here is not going to say to me, Mr. Campbell, I'm involved in this lease agreement because he's afraid as soon as I'm finished,
the master can cut him
Smith
off.
Going to take the blade back.
The master.
So he goes along. He goes along with her and our whole enslavement program. Yeah. Shame on you.
So let me ask you a question, though. Yeah, shame on me. Let me ask you this question, though, because you're saying that the individual has to put the car in the plate holder's name. So if this person comes and takes back his vehicle, I could say
that ain't yours.
I could call the police and say he stole my car.
We've had those disputes.
Oh my goodness.
Really?
We've had those disputes.
You know that I know there are people.
Blows my mind.
Let me tell you this. There are people,
my mind.
highly placed government officers who have 10, 15 plates. I know that. I'm not even going to put Mr. Campbell in that position.
You better say it is alleged.
It is alleged.
And I disassociate myself.
With the alleged.
Is there a disclosure?
With the alleged.
I do the disclaimer thing.
Yeah. No, it's sad.
This is amazing.
Because all it is that 1% thing again. All for me. And this, by the way, goes across all spectrums politically.
Yeah.
Okay?
But the government's not issuing any more plates, though, right?
There is a moratorium that has been in place, I think, for more than 20 years.
Yeah.
More than 20 years. I thought it was like 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
But I just say, and let me ask you one more question with regard to the public franchise system. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, but that sets it up for why people are leasing the plates, because the moratorium has been in place for 2 decades.
Yes.
So I can't legitimately, if I want to get in that business.
But that's why the people, not the people, that's why you
with my 2 plates.
Your plates need to be revoked and given to the legitimate people driving it.
But is that something that we can see? I know I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but is that something that the government is at least looking at doing?
Frankie Campbell and the government of the Bahamas are considering and exploring all options.
Yeah, that's not fair.
That's a good. I'm the interpreter now. I have to interpret. That's a good way to say. Well, I think some stuff might go down.
Well, I hope so.
But it's just all options.
Those of you who are praying, I should have bought $100 kind of people, pray for me. Pray my strength in the Lord.
I should have paid $100. What was that? I don't even know. I don't even know how to go.
It's like when they have the Holy Spirit.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Chanta, should have bought $100.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway,
he has a second career. He has a second career. Yeah. Politics.
So that is, and I by the way, I know many taxi drivers.
Yes.
A lot of them don't like me, but there's a lot who I deal with who I know they are good, decent people.
Yes.
And the system, and I'll even say this to the ones who are not necessarily compliant all the time, The system has brought them down.
Yes.
The system has caused them to do the hustle.
Yes, sir.
And to not comply, because you know why? They're sitting hours and hours to wait for one job. I tell people we have a supply and demand issue. We have more supply than demand.
Yes.
Because all these places
that
because
drives down the price.
Yeah.
In addition to the fact that not enough of them, because they're not necessarily vested in the industry,
Right.
are prepared to invest in the industry,
Right.
to invest in themselves and to invest in their vehicles. So there's some substandard.
Yes.
I tell them all the time, they don't even, to be quite honest with you, a lot of them don't see themselves as businessmen or entrepreneurs.
No.
And they see themselves, I'm a
a
taxi driver.
driver.
And I say, no,
You're
this
a
is your
businessman.
business.
Yes.
You know, and that's how you have to treat it. You know, you have to be prepared to invest that dollar for the transponder, which in
Yes.
many cases can be dealt with from the customer perspective.
Yes.
But you got to have a decent vehicle. You got to have all of these things. All right. It is a. I want to go back to the jet ski thing for a second. I don't know how much time we have before the break. We're gonna have a break and we'll come back to that. We have so much to talk about, Mr. Frankie Campbell, but we so little time. But I'm going to cover just real briefly jet skis, then the road traffic, and then we'll go into local government. We have a very simple scenario, and I don't know if you and I had a chance to discuss this. I'm discussing this specifically, and I very rarely, Rogan can tell you, discuss things that are related to my occupation. Very rarely. But this is national. The highest concentration of visitors on a beach area is Paradise Island. Okay? It is somewhat so on Junkanoo Beach, but the highest right now is Cambridge Beach, Paradise Island. Jet ski operators, many of them whom are legitimate operators, are also tainted with those who are not complying. And it seems to me a very simple fix. You have law enforcement on jet skis and in boats, or a boat in that area or those areas, that if someone gets on a jet ski, because I think the law or the policy is that you're not allowed to be on the jet ski with the person you're renting it to.
That's correct.
So that if you see a operator on the jet ski with a young woman or with a young man for that matter, you approach him in the boat and say, excuse me, what's the deal? Because if that woman is not, or that male, but I'm going to say in this case, if that woman is being forced to do something, she's going to say, I'm not comfortable.
Right.
If everything is copacetic, well then, she's divulged.
But whether she's being forced or not, the deal is
you're not
the operator
Right.
and her
not supposed to be on the
won't
boat.
be on the same.
You're not supposed to go past a certain point. You put some buoys in the water.
That is the issue that I wanted to talk about. That is the difference between Paradise Island and Cable Beach. All of the activities in the Cable Beach area are within the line of sight.
Right.
So as a result of that, there are fewer instances where there's
Issues.
some privacy, where some issues could go down.
Right.
On Paradise Island, on the other hand, once you go around the curve, you're out of sight,
Yes.
and some stuff could go down.
Yes.
We need simply to say that these are the markers, and you don't go beyond those markers.
And someone has to be there to police
and-
that.
Someone's gotta be
And
there.
like you say, continuous inspection. We've discussed this. The other problem that we've had is that there have been too many segments of enforcement. This group is responsible for the vendors. This group is responsible for the jet ski. This group. We need a group that is responsible for any and all infraction.
Yes.
A group that is respected by all. And I say respected intentionally. Enforcement officers have to understand that their integrity enables them to better enforce whatever it is they are enforcing. Whenever their integrity comes into question,
And they're compromised.
they're compromised and they are unable to enforce.
Of course, right.
And so I implore all of those that are involved to be mindful of that.
Does the government know all the individuals who are on these jet skis, or just the individuals who have the license for it?
Well, there should be a system where even the employees of the operators are registered because they should be given badges to be easily identified, etc., etc. So we're supposed to know all of them. But what happens is you have some fellas who either used to be in the industry or are friendly with persons in the industry who would come and hang around, and next thing you know, he's on one of his boys' jet ski and
that happens quite often.
Yes, and again, if there is enforcement both on the land side and out there in the water, you can readily identify someone who ought not be there and cause them to be removed.
How do we move toward, again, this is an infrastructural issue, to having those enforcement officers on jet skis in the water, having those enforcement officers in a boat on the water? If you go to Miami or somewhere in Florida, you can't even have a bottle open on a boat without the fear of a harbor patrol coming to pull you aside. This is our livelihood. This is our, every time we do this, we just go deeper in the hole on the risk of international being tarnished.
I can say that some equipment is on the way. We're looking for the dirt bikes, the beach bikes. We're looking for ATVs. A couple more jet skis, and we're looking for at least a boat for each area that will remain in the area. And then we need the consolidation of the forces.
Right.
The defense force and the police force, fortunately, they come under one ministry, and they will work together. I must say that my fellow colleague, Minister Dames, since that last incident, we've called all of them together, and there's been some improvement. But it has to be continuous improvement. It has to be, if we can't find a way to do it better, let's find a way to do it faster. But let's continue to find where we need to improve.
So now we move to just a real quick road traffic. How is the licensing? Because that's a big bugaboo, right? But how is that process going? Does it still take an inordinate amount of time?
We've come full circle with the automation system. It started in October of last year, so we've come full circle. And now I'm satisfied that anyone who's going for the second time in the new system will not be asked to bring the documents from their four parents and all of that. Why do I have to have a passport to get car license? I need to know that. Well, let me say this. If I get a system that has no override that says that is what you have to have, big man, that's what you have to have.
Big man.
Big man. Big man. Bring your passport, okay?
But I mean, what do we do? I mean, how do we get to this point?
We can argue whether or not we should.
You can't find override?
No override. Bring your passport, big man. But we done passed that. Has it done been more than a year?
But there was new people who are going to come into the system.
Yes.
There are new people who are going to come into the system all the time. Big man.
We got to have a system where you can override it.
They better bring their passport.
I'm asking about. Seriously, why?
Seriously.
In seriousness.
Because the system that was purchased.
Aren't you saying?
I know, but I'm saying there has to be some sort of override function.
Listen, I'm asking for overrides. I'll tell you where I'm asking for overrides. We have expats who don't need to be employed because they're rich.
Right.
They live in life with Keith. They're rich. They don't need an NIB card, but the system is asking for NIB.
Okay, well, so if I give an NIB, I don't need a passport.
Big man, you look like you're trying to cause
trouble. No. You're saying they don't have NIB?
No. What I'm saying to you is these things were not thought
contemplated
out prior to. So those kinks are being worked out. We are now able to do some expats. So I believe that the system, the overrides will come into play. However, while it might seem inconvenient, the government is working towards an integrated system.
So once I do it once, like national insurance.
If you have it, then all of the systems will have access to it. We had the opportunity to visit MIT, and we're exploring this blockchain system that will help us to authenticate documents that were given to another department, et cetera, et cetera. So it is going to come together.
I'm actually working with Ms. Pat Hermans at NIB, and a lot more information is going to be on the NIB card as well. Citizenship, place of birth, date of birth. So, okay.
Yes.
I just don't like traveling with my passport. It's something as simple as getting a
but let me say this to people. The system allows for you to stay home, scan it, and send it to them, and by the time you get there, it's already there. So you don't have
I don't have to produce that in person?
No. You can scan it and send it. You can scan it and send it.
Hold on, sir.
Ross Smith, Mr. Ross Smith, Controller Rogan, your cousin.
Okay, Ross.
Attacking
let me tell you. I did that. I create a whole username and everything, and I was still required to bring my license, bring my passport, and everything else.
That was the one day the thing wasn't working.
That's your cousin.
But I did that.
Ross, that's your cousin throwing you under the bus.
Hey, I'm big man. That's your cousin. All right, listen.
Back home.
Yeah. Okay, let's.
But
let's move on.
it's intended to work like that.
Yeah. All right, we got 6 more minutes, and I want to talk about local government. Yeah, that's my favorite topic.
I know you love local government now.
You can see. I spoke with Mr. Campbell earlier, and I told him about my view on local government. Forget about the concept of local government and how that's going to be developed. Yes. To me, it's a concept of our governance. Okay, the fact that we have, and she's going to be sick of me hearing it, that we don't live in a democracy. When you have everything centralized in one, well, first of all, we got the whole party system thing that's all screwed up with delegates and all that stuff. But then you have everything centralized in that office of the prime minister, the centralized treasury.
And you were supposed to run?
I was supposed to run.
And you was going to run as a delegate and have all them.
No, but I didn't run, so you can't put me in that. So okay, big man, as you say.
Big man,
okay,
big man.
All right, okay. But I abhor it. Okay, and I told Rogan Smith, by the way, if I ran, remember what I said to you? If I did, it was going to be to rip all of that up, to just go in there and rip that up. We have to move away, and I think I'm something like you. I'm not here to be wasn't going to be there to be reelected or redirected. You're there to get something done.
Yes, sir.
And if by getting something done, people felt that they should reelect you, then 2 thumbs up.
So be it.
But the reality is we have decentralization. We got everything centralized. Why should someone have to come to Frankie Campbell in Nassau to determine some little small Ministry of Transport thing in Mayaguana?
You see, now, we have to ensure that the practice and the whole philosophy is followed through.
Right.
We can't go with what we have now, where the local council is suggesting that persons go around them, go to the business license in New Providence, they get a license and come back and say, nah, I got my license.
Right.
It has to be. The only route of getting it is through that protocol.
Right.
It has to be.
It has to be.
It has to be that
local
government. Yes, it has to be that they will take responsibility for certain things. You know, responsibility come with freedom.
Right.
And so you're going to be given the freedom to do certain things. You have to exercise some responsibility. We want a local government that has teeth, that has consequences, that has the authority to make some decisions, and those decisions, if anyone want to change them, have to challenge them in the Supreme Court, not just call your MP.
Right. No, it should be where if you live in the X district of New Providence or Exuma, and your city council determines that they want to do a park or they want to give a garbage contract. A garbage contract don't need to come to the Minister of Environment.
No, sir.
Okay, where they want to do traffic tickets.
Yes.
I'm even hardcore to the extent where I say, look, and you were a police officer.
Still is.
When you
once was, always
okay.
is.
When you well, I'm a district constable by the way. So you know.
All right, constable. I was a sergeant, so
yeah.
Well, take instructions.
Yes, I get you.
All right, good.
The reality is you look at an island like, say, Cat Island.
Yes.
Okay. Population, what? 1,000 people?
1,300.
1,300 people. They only need 3 policemen. If they have...
Not necessarily. And I'll tell you why.
I'm being facetious. I mean, they don't need 30,000.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, if they're collecting property tax...
Yes.
And the right amount of funding, they should be able to hire their own municipal policemen for certain things like traffic tickets, that type of thing. Collect the fines, work with their local magistrate. When it comes to a murder, then you bring in the CID.
The
police commissioner should be
This is my
about
message to the local government districts, and I've started my visit. I visited Grand Bahama. I spent 2 days there. I visited all the departments, but I visited Abaco and visited all. I'm going to Cat Island next. But I'm saying to all of the districts, you have the opportunity to maintain your uniqueness. If you're the pineapple town, be the pineapple town. But you ought to be able to say, we want speeding tickets in our Pineapple Island to be twice as much as it is in New Providence. And you should be able to decide that.
And if people dispute, New Providence, that's how much they got to pay.
Yes, and once you get the general consensus, because this is a democracy, like it or not, once you get the general consensus and that is what is agreed, New Providence should only endorse that. So you could go in another island and speed, but once you reach the Pineapple Island, big man.
Even if it's just even the town. I mean, not that we're going to go that low down.
Right.
But, from district to district could be different things.
The point is, you can be unique.
Right.
You can determine what's going to happen in your town.
Frankie Campbell, you got too much going on. We have the music in my ear, so we got to go.
This is good.
I almost want to say, because of your humor, would you make another appearance as opposed to would you come on, like a show? But listen, it was good. We have a lot more to talk about. We had a lot more to talk about.
I'll come back on one condition,
yes,
big
sir.
man.
Yes, sir.
If I could have one of our taxi plates.
Okay, because that'll help you out. Listen, Minister Frankie Campbell, we got a lot of stuff to talk. I didn't even get to the things we're trying to do with the downtown and all that type of thing. It's a lot of stuff we're going to do.
He's coming back.
So you'll be back. When we come back,
you can't afford a longer show. I mean,
things tight, man. Things tight, man. Things tight, big man. All right, thank you very much, Cousin Smith. Kendrick Williams, or as you know, what do you call him first? Roll? I don't know.
I'm having a town hall meeting in Southern Shores at Anatole Rogers at 7 p.m. tomorrow
by
evening.
The way, you have a guy down there. Give me the name. Harcourt McCoy.
Harcourt.
Yes.
McCoy.
He's a beast. They have the hardest basketball team in the world.
Yeah, I ain't worrying about basketball.
They dig up the people in Africa.
This guy is one of the most...
Yeah, he was incredible.
He was incredible.
Lots
he was
of
a guest
good
on the show.
For him.
You have a guy like him in this community. That's the heart. That school can become the heart of that community.
Yes, I'm asking them to allow me in and become part of the team. Yeah. But the topic for our town hall meeting tomorrow evening is policing the environment. We're going to have the Minister of Environment and Senior Assistant Commissioner Stevie Dean.
Stevie.
Oh,
man.
Yes.
All right. We'll be back on Monday. Thursday. Jeez, I'm losing control. I think Ace is coming. Ace Newbold, the press secretary, is coming on. Thank you very much, Mr. Frankie Campbell. Pleasure.